Well, good evening and welcome to the October 14th meeting of the City of Gahanna Board of Zoning and Building Appeals. I now call this meeting to order, and the time is 7:33. I'll ask it, or 6:33, thank you for that. Would everybody please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance, and I will ask Mr. Burmeister to lead us in that. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, Mr. Van Meter, roll call, please.
Beckman is absent. Bryson?
Here.
Burmeister?
Here.
Eisen?
Here.
And Stillwell is absent.
All right. Are there any modifications to the agenda? I have not seen any. Mr. Clerk, any that you have seen?
None.
No.
All right. So formally, we have no additions or corrections to the agenda. The next order of business is the approval of our last meeting's meeting minutes. That was our meeting dated January 14th of 2025, and just as a reminder, that was our organizational meeting back in January. So at this time, do I have a motion to approve the meeting minutes of January 14th, 2025?
I motion to approve the minutes.
All right, motion by Mr. Burmeister,
I second.
second by Mr. Bryson. Roll call, please.
Burmeister?
Yes.
Bryson?
Yes.
Eisen?
Yes. All right, the motion to approve the minutes has passed. I'll now ask the city attorney to administer the oath and any other instructions to those who will be speaking this evening.
Thank you. All those who wish to present testimony, including the appellant, if you could please rise and raise your right hand. Do you swear or affirm to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Thank you. Please be seated.
All right, thank you very much. Our appeal this evening is number BZA-0002-2025 to consider an appeal of Planning Commission's denial of variance V-0019-2025, a variance application to vary section 1103.07E, large lot residential of codified ordinances of the City of Gahanna for property located at 400 Bramer Court, parcel ID 025-011-408. Current zoning is R1, large lot residential, and Corey Shu is the applicant. Mr. Clerk, just for the record, and I know we have those documents, but I want it in the record, the requirements of Chapter 147 of the Codified Ordinances of the City of Gahanna for all of the applications, paperwork, fees, those requirements have been met.
Yes.
Okay, thank you very much. All right, pursuant to the Board Rules of Procedure 6.4, the public hearing shall be conducted as follows. The appellant, the proponent, will be allowed 25 minutes. This is a combined time for the appellant and any interested party. We will then have the appellee. The opponent will be allowed 25 minutes. Similarly, combined time for the appellee and any interested party. Then there will be 5 minutes of further commentary and rebuttal for the appellant, followed by 5 minutes, again, as needed, for the appellee. And per item 6.5 in the Rules of Procedure, comments and questions by the board members here will be allowed at any point during the hearing. If we want to wait till all the presentations are done, or just any time that we need to do that. So with that being said, I will ask the appellants to come to the microphone.
So we can sit here. These
Okay.
are on?
Oh, those are all working fine there too? Okay. go ahead and identify yourself, and then please make your presentation.
I'm John Esterby. I'm the homeowner here with Corey Shue, who's my contractor. We attended a variance meeting on November 7th for a height variance. The minutes will dictate that we were arguing over 6 inches. We were coming in at 17 feet. The code is 15 feet. We were told by the head of the building committee that he was able to admin approve 1.5 or 10% or 1.5 feet variance. In that very meeting, Corey re-rendered the drawings to pull the top roof back approximately 8 inches, and that brought the structure down 6 inches. So we left that meeting with the board or the commission stating that if we filed an appeal, it would be admin approved. So we left the meeting. We were already 6 months late. But that's, I know money is no issue in deciding what's fair or what's going to be decided. But so we decided to start the project. You know, we were told, resubmit the appeal. It's going to be rubber stamped. We did have building permits that were stamped. So we built the structure. We did not receive any notification. There were documentation that there were calls made, but we don't have any calls. I did a public records request if you would like to see that. We have the update on 11/7 as a public record, and then the next update is in January of some time. So we had resubmitted a variance request, and I don't know what happened. I don't know, when was that submitted?
Second one or first
Yes,
one?
the second one, after we lost. To go build the
Oh, this is for the appeal.
It was submitted within days, right, of the losing?
Sorry, this is 20 pages of documentation, so.
We submitted a request. He'll get the exact time. We resubmitted the appeal, expecting to get the rubber stamp with the admin approval, and did not hear anything, to our knowledge, until January, I think it was 26th. According to the public records, they updated the variance and said that we were out of spec based on a, I forget the term, but when they drive by and check your place and they saw that it was out of spec, that it was too tall.
Is it appropriate for me to step in when he's talking, or do you want him to speak and then me?
No,
No,
you're fine.
Go ahead.
Go ahead.
I'm just gonna, I have a few dates.
Yeah, go.
So we had the previous variance, as it was told, if we had known it was at 16.5 feet, we would have submitted, they would have approved it. We were all agreed to modify it, we did. I resubmitted everything. And then I resubmitted that very soon after meeting, planning commission meeting, November 6th. Various application was sent on the 7th. I completed the drawings on the 7th. We all agreed, you agreed. And then I submitted everything, the whole package on the 8th of November. And we built the structure and we completed it, I think, December 19th. And then I had asked for inspections, because we get the plans approval, which each permit office looks a little different between, like, whether the zoning and planning and building stamp is the same. So it looked to me like we did what we were supposed to. We submitted, they stamped it. I started scheduling inspections because the foundations were already in, so we didn't have any footers, just framing and final because it's an open timber structure. And we were just waiting on inspections, and I was calling them in and nothing. And then we did the project, and like, all right, well, maybe, when are they gonna come do this? And then he got a code violation on January 28th, 25. So on the 29th, I submitted the previous Rev 5 drawings again. They got approved again. And then he got another code violation continually. March 18th, April 1st, like it just keeps going, and I'm just resubmitting the same drawings that we all agreed upon with the zoning board, sorry. And I was just a bit confused and shocked. I thought we did what we were told to do, And we did it, and I was trying to get inspections, stay on timeline, we were beating the snow, it all got done, and everything was just silent on the other end. And I was assuming at some point they're gonna find it in the record and go do a framing final. And then we just started getting code violation after code violation. And then I continued to correspond. This is my notes. There's 220 line items, and 114 line item is the initial code violation. That's all correspondence between me and the permit office, or me and the client, and so forth, of in-person visits, emails, phone calls, so forth. I did submit this, I believe. I don't know how much documentation you,
Yeah.
oh, okay. So yeah, 114 is the first code violation, and then 118 is when I submitted it again, and then you'll see that correspondence just continue to repeat itself of code violation, resubmittal, code violation. And I thought we were going into the last variance, that they were gonna be like, they looked through the notes and, oh, we got it wrong. And you did what we all agreed upon, because there was an architect over on that side. And his idea was to just, can we reduce the upper rafter overhang? And I did it in CAD, which I have right here. And yeah, we just brought the upper overhang back about 8 inches diagonal to reduce the height from, it was 17 feet and 3/16, I think, originally. And we got it in that range and did it. And I don't know, I felt like we had good guidance and we followed all the rules and did what we were supposed to. And then come to find out that the other side didn't agree, so that's kind of just my point of view of it.
Yeah, I think that pretty much sums it up. We got no communication that they couldn't have been approved. Which is, I think, what they hung their hat on in the second variance meeting.
I don't know if this is relevant, but it is in here. So it was the head of zoning in that meeting, and he's the one, the board asked him, can't you approve these in-house? And he says, yes, we can do it up to 10% or whatever. This one would have been 16 and a half feet. And then that's how the discussion started between all of us, like together, to figure it out. And when I wasn't getting responses, I went in over here and talked to the front desk lady. And she said, oh, that's not the rule anymore. He knows better. He shouldn't have said that. And I was like, who was present? She's like, my boss, the head of the the head of the department. He should have never said that. That's wrong. That got changed. And she was kind of upset about it. And I was just like, okay. So I don't know how that falls on us. It's even relevant, but I was surprised by that. Like, I was told by the head of zoning and the board, we're good to go. And then later told by someone else in the office that's incorrect, because it's just incorrect. It's false.
You mentioned reaching out about inspections. So what was your understanding of how the process, and explain again what happened as you were trying to call in, you came in, or whatever you did to get?
I typically, depends if you have sorry.
Go ahead.
If there's a portal, I'll use the portal, like Columbus, and Delaware is really easy to use. This one, I recall, I don't remember using the portal. It's all noted here. But I was calling and just saying, this is Corey, Cedar and Stone, this is the parcel, this is the permit number. We need a framing and final. We need a framing and final. I called in the framing the first time, and then called it in again, I believe. And then at that point, we were done. So it's like, all right, framing, final, framing, final. And nothing was showing up in the portal that they were receiving anything. I never got a call back, just silence. I mean, he was on site with me a lot. He's like, you hear anything? I'm like, no, every day. It took a month to build. It's not like it's a quick thing.
So you didn't come in you said you came in for something else. Once you weren't getting any responses either through the portal or through phone calls, you didn't give an attempt to come in and talk to the building department and say, I want to get a final inspection?
I
Personally.
don't know. If I did, it's in here. I finished punch list. Yeah, December 19th. I notified you we were complete. What? Oh, 113 was the completion. Trying to find a start date real quick.
Looks like it was start date. I see a shop to site note at line 105 on 11/18, and then site one, and
Oh, yeah.
would that
Okay.
be?
Yeah, site one, 11/18 would be the start date. So, it took us 30 days. I do know when I submitted the drawings, I submitted for, because the structure was pre-built in July of 2024 at my shop, the whole thing, minus the bottom of the post being cut off. So I'm pretty sure when I resubmitted, and I got the plans stamped back, I put them in plastic, I posted them on site with the green inspection card like we normally do, and I called in no, I would have waited for the frame to get up, which is probably like day 3 when I could have called in framing, maybe day 4 of the main timber structure. Though, a lot of times in ours, because they are framing final, I try not to waste the inspector's time and just bring them out for one at the end. I don't recall, I usually use the portal, because they're very efficient these days, and it's just a lot easier and quicker. That should be recorded somewhere, but,
Okay. I have a few more other questions. I'm going to wait till after we hear from Mr. Roth. So do either of you have any questions at this time? Or obviously, we can continue to ask questions during the presentation.
I want to wait till after we hear from Repelli in that process.
Yeah,
for any more
same. I
questions.
will have some in a bit, but they might get answered in the meantime.
Okay. At this point, are you through with this portion of your presentation?
I believe so, yeah.
Okay, thank you very much. Mr. Roth?
Good evening. I want to clarify some things about the process that got us to this point in front of the BZBA. This application has been heard twice by the Planning Commission. November of '24, it was in front of Planning Commission at a 17-foot height. During that meeting, you have heard the appellants say they were told by Mr. Blackford that an administrative approval could be granted if it was 16 and a half. What was said, so this was November of '24. I believe in May of '24 is when our new code went into effect that allowed for de minimis administrative approvals of things up to a 10% variance. So if we're doing a side yard setback and it's 10 feet, they could approve to 9 feet, just administratively. Mr. Blackford did state that that was possible. He was in error because that part of the code does not apply to building heights. But the appellant was told that can be done. They were never told they didn't need to get a building permit, however. So they apply through the portal to get a building permit. It was never granted. I believe the appellant stated they had a stamped permit. That is not true. They had stamped plans because the structure itself met the building code requirements, so the plans were stamped saying the structure itself is fine, but they never had a stamped permit to proceed with construction because a variance would be needed because of the height. When this came back in front of Planning Commission in August, that office, the planning office and zoning office said, we tried contacting you, never heard anything. I don't know if they were contacted. They're saying they were not. But in any event, they started construction. The denial was given on November 6th. They started construction November 18th without a permit. That just boggles the mind that, they thought they could start just because something that was said in the meeting that an administrative variance could be granted. They never received that, but started construction anyway. The Planning Commission, during both instances, both times the Planning Commission heard this, they were concerned that there was no circumstances present here that, with the property, that would warrant a variance. When we think about granting variances, there's something unique about the property. Maybe it slopes to a floodplain, you have to build the house inside a setback, something like that. This is a backyard with a pool cabana. There's nothing special about this that they felt warranted a variance. The current code does not have the special circumstance language in it. The current code lists what should be considered. The relevant factor is the variance is necessary for the economical use of the property, and such economical use is not easily achieved through some method other than a variance. Prior to construction, there was no, economies were not a part of this. It wasn't built. Now they have a structure already built, and they're saying it would be expensive to lower the height of it. I believe Mr. Shu said at the last Planning Commission meeting that the entire building would have to be jacked up to shorten it some more. Obviously, that is not an economical task, but had they not constructed the building without a building permit, we wouldn't be in that position. The other factor that the Planning Commission looked at in granting their denial both times is there are no other accessory structures in the neighborhood, in the vicinity of this project, that are over 15 feet, so that this would be a change to the surrounding area, because it's the only thing that is constructed separate from the households themselves that is that high. Those are legitimate factors under our code. I believe the Planning Commission acted properly in denying this, and that is all I have.
All right, thank you so much. I'll come back to the appellant for 5 minutes of final comment.
The main thing, I deal with a lot of permit offices, and everyone does it a little different. And typically when I get the green building card with the plans, often, with a lot of my experience, the zoning and building plans come in the same packet. So I got all this, printed the green building card, put it on the front, put it in the plastic, posted it like I always do for every other project. The verbiage through the portal can be different. It can say different things depending on the permit office. I've been doing this a decent amount of time. I haven't made a mistake like this before. So maybe I just shouldn't have assumed so much. I assumed when I got plans approval, and we asked specifically in that meeting before we left, I said, I need to be really clear, am I applying for another variance again, or a whole other one addition to this, or are we just resubmitting another packet? And they said, no, just do a revision to the drawings and submit them, and we'll do it. We'll just take care of it in-house, because if you can get it down to that point. So I thought I submitted what I was supposed to. They sent me the permit packet, and that was that. And we posted it and built as we always do, not really knowing any better. I had no ill intent. I have no interest in doing this. We had other options that could have been done if we had been informed. We could have lowered the beam clearance, cut the post. That's the last cut on site. We could have just cut a few more inches off. There was no reason for us to, if you've seen the structure, it's not something you can hide. It's like, we could have easily avoided this whole thing if we were given direct feedback from doing what we were told we were supposed to do. If the feedback was if their minds had changed from what they had told us. So I kind of struggle with this one, because I feel like we really tried to go overboard to do the right thing and be safe, because I don't like messing with this stuff. I don't want to, be doing this. And, yeah, it's kind of a shame and a sad. It's just a unfortunate scenario. I'm hoping we just get through it. And yes, to repair the structure, I'm gonna have to get a crane out there and relieve pressure and go around with the chainsaw and basically cut a few inches off the whole bottom. Because I can't, the beam, I can't cut it back to 15 feet. The beam, the 8 by 12 beam, that's like 30 whatever feet long, would only be like 8 by 9 3/4, which doesn't meet my top plate requirements anyway from an engineering perspective. So I have to actually lift the entire thing, and I don't even know what it is, probably 30,000 pounds, and then cut everything off with it in the air, and then lower it down. It's possible, it's expensive. I really don't want to have to do that, but it could be done if it had to be done.
Mr. Esterby, anything else aside from that?
Nothing to add.
Thank you. Mr. Roth, any final comments?
Nothing further.
Okay, thank you very much. We will now open questioning, and go ahead, Mr. Burmeister.
One of my first questions is, I'm looking at your exhibit, which is all your correspondence.
Yes.
Thank you for that. You mentioned receiving the building card in the packet approvals. I don't see anywhere from after November 8th, when you resubmitted the drawings to zoning, to where you basically say your starting date 11/18, and then we're all finished on 12/19, that you sent any notification that you received the packet of approval. So when did you actually receive the packet is my first question, and the follow-up is, how did you get a packet if there is, in fact, no actual approval being given yet by the building department or zoning? So how did you obtain the packet, from what method?
I guess in the portal, I got the building plans approval again from, that got repeated, and then all of a sudden the green building card was also added in there somewhere that I didn't see before. So I was like, oh, we're good to go. That's usually my indication when they release the building card, is because it's time for the inspection card to go on site to be checked off. And
So-
that's where I missed it. Like, I just thought the building plans, I just thought it was all in the same packet, and I got the green building card.
Sure.
I printed them and put them up.
So my follow-up question to that is, because I do this a lot too with the building departments and zoning and applying and portals. It's not always fun, it's frustrating at times, but usually you receive some sort of a notification, some sort of an email that your plans have been approved, versus just kind of sorting through the portal and saying, oh, something showed up.
Yeah, that's how I know when I go in there. I click
Yeah.
the link and go in. And that
Yeah.
is the email. It says plan approval every time.
Yeah,
And
so.
then when I went in there, the green card was there too, and I just made the wrong assumption.
Well, I guess that's kind of my question is, did you actually receive the email from the portal or the city that your plans have been approved? Or were you just kind of looking and checking in on the portal?
Continuously both, but the column C is like the two from me to him to the office. I know it's a lot of data.
I guess the short version of my question is did you actually receive some sort of formal notification that the plans were issued as approved versus just seeing the green card show up on the site? Because that's usually my trigger as well, and I could probably speak for you because you've done this in the same process and same vein as, I don't usually do anything until I see some sort of a
Yeah.
formal notification, your plans have been approved, you're allowed to pull them down from the site.
I'm just looking at 101, and trying to remember, my processes. I try to record everything for a view.
No, I
for
understand.
reasons besides just business. I know I get that email that says plan approval, like every time it's the same heading. And all I remember is I clicked off memory, I went in there, and then another message or submission was a release of the green building card that I hadn't seen before, and I'm not used to having that, getting access to that. Not that it's a very specific document, but the combination of those two led me to just, oh, okay, we're good to go. And then I was calling in inspections to the hotline, which I thought would raise awareness if something was wrong. If someone's calling in inspections for a permit that doesn't exist. And
No, it's,
I don't know, maybe it was naive, I don't know. I thought we did what we were asked to do, everyone was in agreement, and they were just busy.
No, I understand, and I think sorry if I'm continuing. Yeah, I don't want to drudge this out. Another question is as part of the zoning process, do you usually see separate emails from the zoning department of you're approved to move to the next step, or a notification, variance is coming, you submitted drawings on November 8th, resubmitted the drawings as requested, but you're saying you guys never received any follow-up from them saying your submission was approved, aside from the green card you're referring to, correct?
It just said building plans approved is like the general statement. I just assumed it was all, because I'm used to, I build mostly detached accessory and some attached accessory like timber frame structures. So I kind of just did it how I've always done it, and this is the first time I've been really wrong. When I get that email from anyone, Murfield, Upper Arlington, like I work all over the city, when you get that plans approved, I remember the first time I got it from you guys, I was like, oh, that was quick. And then all of a sudden there was a comment or message sent later about, it may have been lot covered, no, it wasn't lot covered, so it might have been something else prior to the height. But like even that first email, I thought, oh, it's approved, we're good to go. Way back when.
Okay.
And then I think that having access to the inspection card is probably what just ticked my brain into, oh, we're definitely good. I printed the drawings, I didn't even look at them. I just print them, put them in a plastic sheet, post them.
Sure.
They were there every day. I told him where they were, so if they showed up when it wasn't there, they could find them, because it was snowing and inclement.
Okay. I think that's my first group of questions. I will turn it over to you guys.
So, thank you, because you got ahead of me on some of those. That was the same thing I wanted to ask. I do see a note in here at line 45 that I'm not understanding in light of everything else. So I see on 9/24/24, this portal link, residential was issued, residential building permit.
Yeah, that's that email heading copied into there from
Okay.
Gahanna.
Okay,
That
but,
might be that first one.
okay. But then the rest of it looks to me like it's reasons that a permit wasn't issued. Am I understanding that right? Because I see residential was issued, residential building permit, and then I see Mike Frey commented, action required, that there were some zoning comments. And so that would normally suggest to me that the permit wasn't actually approved, and that the subject line seems a little misleading, but I wanted to see if I was understanding that right, or there actually was a permit approved at that point, but there was a zoning problem. Unlike the other folks here, I don't build,
Yeah,
so.
and that's two separate emails, just so you know when it comes in.
Okay.
So the first one I got is residential building, like, that's the typical looking heading when we're just good to go. And then there's a comment letter, which isn't uncommon, because like in Upper Arlington and Murfield, we have a lot of setbacks, lot restrictions, and that's not uncommon. And then this was about setbacks, but he had a previous variance during the pool, so we got all of the documents back in, got that taken care of. And then, email 3, record, and then Oh, and then, yeah, the height thing, we had to apply for a new variance because the previous variances covered everything else.
Right.
So then we did that. And you can see line 48 is my communication with him. Like even, I put all of this in there, like just anything I had in regards to this, so I can have as complete as a picture as possible of what was going on.
Okay.
And I see on line 49, I reviewed the comments again, I updated the drawings again on on line 50. And then the correspondence of me getting his previous variances, like making sure we can get that dialed in there and the plans updated so the setbacks are all taken care of and grandfathered in.
Okay, so I think that gives me a good picture. So there was not a permit issued at that point because all of the zoning clearances still have to happen before a permit gets issued.
This was my first variance. I've had variances after we built something that the permit officer approved and then someone else said something and we had to go with all of you guys against a homeowner. But I've never been on the other side of it.
Okay.
So maybe maybe I thought we're good to, the application is building approved and pending zoning, which we're doing a variance for, but the packet is there, we just need to check the boxes. That's how I would have looked at it until a few months ago, probably. Going through this, I'll be more diligent next time.
In September, you didn't get the green card. You only got that later, right? When the line 45 or whatever,
Is the green card mentioned in here, the inspection card? I
No, I didn't see that. That was one of the reasons I was asking the question.
think, or maybe I just looked harder. I was expecting it to be done and we were ready to go. When I sent the Rev 5 drawings in agreement with the board and everything, and I got that same email, residential permit issued or whatever. And then when I went in there, in one of the documents, I saw the inspection card. It potentially was always there and I just happened to see it because it was time, I don't know. But I do remember that thought process as like, oh, finally, we got through it, we're good to go, we've got everything we need, we can post on site and we can build this thing.
Well, I was looking at that. Well, that's just my idea, but that was.
Those are my questions. I think Mr. Eisen has some also, but those are the ones I have.
So are you serving as like a design builder where you or somebody in your firm is a licensed architect in the state of Ohio that would have sealed plans?
I do all of it. I do all the load calculations. I do a lot of the timber framing. I have 2 master carpenters. And then I hire out, I have 3 different engineers I use, depending on commercial, like, it depends. I do a lot of commercial stuff for Cameron Mitchell, like I built Cento Italiano, so I don't always have to do all of it. I can have things stamped. I can't stamp them.
So the drawings for this project were not stamped by a licensed architect?
No, they're not typically on accessory, detached, or attached,
Okay,
in my experience,
okay. Was that,
for residential, I mean.
okay. Have you done work in the city of Gahanna before?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
Go ahead.
it's been phenomenal. Like, I had great experiences prior to this one.
So you mentioned permit packet, but there wasn't, while there may have been a stamp on the drawings that said plan approval, there wasn't a separate document or something that said building permit, that said the words building permit on there, because I think that's the question with the building department, is that you didn't have a permit. So what is your understanding of, I should have had a document that said building permit, or you assumed something, or what?
I haven't received a document like that in about 7 to 9 years since the rules went into effect. Typically, I don't get any paper. What I do get is prints. I haven't put any letter in my drawings on site in a long time. I just put the city stamped approved building drawings and the inspection card for the last 9, 11 years, and no one's ever told me otherwise. The only time I think I did it is when I used to do it in paper, and I was working in POW, and I went in and dealt with them, and they printed them for me. That's probably the only time I can recall ever having some sort of letterhead on site or in my files.
What's the date?
3/24. 25.
Yeah, that's interesting, too. So, yeah, I was like 20.
Yeah, I think one of the,
That's
so
25.
we're looking at and I printed these off myself, so they're not probably in the same order as you gave us. But part of the statement of variance, one of the attachments had the drawings that show the label of plan approval on them. But they actually show it as 3/24/25, at least in what I'm seeing in front of me.
And you're welcome to look at this if you want,
Yeah.
but I think it's, Mr. Van Meter, it's probably those drawings that,
Do you know?
Again, I don't know, because it says Rev 1, issue date
I should have.
6/27/24.
Yeah, Rev 5 is what I have stamped on the site. I thought, I supplied, I may have done that one, because that's the first one, where we got the initial comment, and Rev 5 was the final one where we're good to go.
Okay.
Is this what we're talking about?
yes.
Yeah, but that still has the 3/24/25 date on it, on that, and that still shows Rev 1 with the 6/27/24. I just happen to have page A.06 is what I'm looking at, which is a side perspective view of the framing.
Probably at 17 feet, 3/16 or something like that.
It's actually 16 feet overall in here.
Oh, and
was-
that one it is? Okay, then.
Yeah.
that-
That's not, I mean, that
oh,
was
that's
something
Rev
I had
1.
a,
So the original one was at 17 feet, 3/16.
yeah, that's, yeah, and I think what we were just looking at was more the stamp date on it, which is March of '25 versus November of '24. So I'm just trying to understand that timeline. So I mean, a lot of this is just timeline semantics. We're trying to follow up the whole story. You guys have been living for a year, where we've been researching for a few weeks.
And trying to recall what happened a year ago.
Correct.
And I'm trying to also understand something that I saw in the video of the Planning Commission meeting, and certainly, obviously, in the meeting minutes, which are one and the same, where in January, staff was reaching out by phone, text, and email to say the structure could only be 15-foot max. I believe your response was you didn't see, you weren't getting the text, you didn't see an email, you didn't receive a voicemail message. And that was to respond back. So help me understand 3 different ways of communications. I mean, I guess it's on the record from, excuse me, it's on the record from the Planning Commission meeting that you already said that, but we're here now, so, and I realize January of '25 was after December 2nd or whatever of '24, when you had already completed your construction, but what happened there? You're still, well, I'll let you answer the question.
They posed that question, and I was like, it's blank. We got nothing. And we said, you guys document all this, I assume. And they said, yes, request our records, and we'll prove that we did all of this. He requested the records, and he told me before I walked in here that there's no record of anyone ever contacting us. So I don't know. I mean, I was waiting for at some point, like, hey, we're gonna do that framing final, you wanna meet us out there maybe? Because I was very, like, surprised at I just thought they were busy. I have no idea. They have other things going on. But I'm confident we were not getting communication. And I was surprised that they said they were nonstop. We weren't returning anything. And then they couldn't prove any evidence to prove that fact. So I don't know how to summarize that one.
Okay.
Well, I can't say that either. All I can say is what I heard in the presentation by the appellee at the last meeting, saying that it did happen and you saying that it didn't. And so I guess it's a point that we're not going to solve here right now.
Yeah.
Okay.
I have the PDF of the green building card that I printed, and I opened it on October 3rd, 2024. I'm not sure if that's relevant in any way, positive for me or not, but I'm looking through my documentation and the created, modified, and last open dates.
So a question I have is, the process you went for the variance was you designed a structure that you knew from day one was not compliant.
Oh, I had no idea.
Yeah, we have.
I just designed the structure, and then that was it.
So before you,
I expected it to get approved.
so before you designed a structure, you guys didn't do any due diligence of local codes or ordinances to verify what is applicable for that area?
I have done it every time since. I dealt with lot coverage before. I'd never dealt with height. I'm dealing with one in Murfield right now at 18 feet. And I'm going in this very differently. We're doing pre-planning with zoning before I start. We're going in the back door to just get it all set up properly for the first packet submittal, so we don't have to go through all of that.
So when you guys, reading some of the, pardon me, the history, when you went through that process, you started at 17 foot, and then there were correspondence that it was not going to be compliant. Would you have just made it 15 foot had the city not gave you that potential out of
That would depend
the
on his.
10% deviation rule that was mentioned?
I would have discovered what was possible at that point. I usually just submit my stuff. I create it all from custom, on proportional balances of aesthetics, and I submit it to look how I want it to look. And then if there's tolerances we have to fit within, we do that. I've since have stopped wasting so much of my time and doing a little more calling, going into offices and finding out the rule sets, because I work in all the different places, which mostly is just to save me time and get it closer to the finish line at the start.
I know this isn't consideration for a height variance because they got rejected, but one of the key things was that's the entrance to the pool. And my daughters and my girlfriend love the suntan, and they're like, you take away my sun, you're in trouble. So that's why we kept that top beam so high. So if we had been told that we could only go 15, we would have had other options to pull that, top roof down further or push it back, still keep that front beam height. And if we still couldn't make it, then we would have to lower the structure. But that's kind of the going in game, is I wanted that clearance for the, people that like to sit right at the entrance to the pool where their steps are, and that's where they always laid, so.
Okay.
He's made this, I want to just top that statement off. He's made that statement in every meeting, and the structure was pre-cut. The posts were 10, 12 feet long, whatever they were. Everything else was done, all the joinery. And I could have just cut the post down to 17, or 7, it's a 9-foot beam clearance, bottom from the beam to grade. I could have just cut the posts to 7.5 feet instead of 9 feet. I could have cut them to 8 feet, 8.5 feet. We could have done all of that and got it down to 15 feet. But we were talking, and the architect was like, can we cut back rafters? He wanted to maintain the beam clearance. And we all figured out, I was doing the CAD, and I was like, yeah, if I can bring the rafters back here, we can maintain the beam clearance, so he's happy, you're happy, and we're good to go. And if I would have got anything back before that start date, I would have just cut the post a few inches shorter.
I understand the artistic aesthetic of designing something that might meet the needs of the client and looks good, but as an architect, and there's two of us sitting up here, I can say that one of the first things that we do when we're designing any structure is read local code, both zoning and building code, and if that, whether it's site setback or building height or something about a footing, I mean, I'm not even understanding how you wouldn't have researched local building code, which would have said 15 feet, and we wouldn't even be here tonight. So help me understand why not researching building code in the jurisdiction for which you're designing and constructing something isn't critical path in the process.
Okay, I'm aware of the common denominators between all the permit offices of restricted heights and working with specific offices, then I know which ones do what. The one I built in west side of Gahanna was pretty tall, and I submitted it, and it just went through. I didn't get anything like, oh, it can't be that tall, or we have to do a variance and things like that. Most of my structures aren't very tall. They're normally gable roof pavilions. They're 13 feet at the highest point. I don't usually build tall structures. So maybe I'm a bit inexperienced with lot coverage, but often people spend money on their hardscaping and it's hot, and then they hire me to come in and put a roof over it. So I don't have to deal, I'm going on top of an existing land coverage thing, and I don't have to deal with that unless I'm the one breaking ground and starting the whole project usually. Because everything, we're just fitting in a parameter that's already been established on top of an existing pad. I can pull up pavers, put in footers, or whatnot. So it's only as we do bigger, larger, more grand structures that I've had to learn about what the heights are, how they're different, the lot coverage rules based on hot surfaces, green surfaces, et cetera.
Okay.
But now I go in fully prepared to not have to ever do this again.
So the answer really is you didn't on this one, and there's no explanation why, but you're doing it going forward. Okay, that's fine. Anything else you want to ask at this point?
No, I don't have any further questions. Thank you.
Sure, I'll go. Have you guys researched any alternative approaches to modifying the structure aside from crane picking it and cutting down?
My only other thing I've come up with was house jacks. My plan would be to build a temporary stud frame structure to relieve pressure by 1/8 of an inch, and then go around with chainsaws, track saws. I'm gonna have to cut the nails to the sills, because it is a stud frame sill plate wall assembly in between the post and beam structure in the back room. If it was just all posts, it's not as daunting. I can support it, cut it, and then drop it. And I would just bring a big crane on site just for extra safety, and then I have to do all the anchor points. Luckily, I do have experience with removing large stuff at restaurants with cranes, so don't want to do it, but I have a few options.
Me and my neighbor did it almost every day.
Well, I think
Staring
I
out
was,
there like,
well, I think I was more,
Do you have any?
I'm trying to, I'm not trying to guide you, but I was thinking of alternative out of the box ideas to maybe become within code compliance without major surgery. And I was looking at the way the Rev 1 drawings, I have plan approval that I was looking at with that side elevation. Are you able to pull up, yeah, that page, A006, and then, can you rotate it? Yeah, wrong way. Perfect. So I know this is an older version, and that's 16 foot, you went to 17 foot, now you're at 16 and a half.
No, that's the first one was the 17 feet, 3/16 or something like that.
Okay.
And then
that's only 16.
that's what I'm. I'm trying to find, I have,
That's an 8-foot clearance, that's not the right clearance.
oh, that's,
Well, I guess the question I was trying to pose was, or thought process is the rafter tail above the large beam at the peak. Are you able to maybe modify the rafter tail to take it and run it flat? And would that get under the 15-foot at that point?
I'm looking at Rev 5 right now.
Because it's keeping your 9-foot clearance underneath, keeping the majority of the structure, and you're just modifying some tails
The top of that beam is like 15.3.
Here,
to the top of the beam.
the top of the beam is 15 feet, 3 9/16.
Can we drop that beam, get rid of the other beam on the small roof and drop that beam down to replace that beam?
Well, all of the bird's mouth notch angles will change. If I jack the whole roof up and remove the beam and double cut it. But yeah, right now, to get to the, we're under the 16 and a half, we're at 16 and a half feet right now is what the structure's at.
To the very top point where it says 16
The
on this
very
drawing.
topmost piece
Yeah.
is 16 and a half feet. We did cut the architect, he was sitting over there, and he came up with the idea, can we cut the rafters back? Because they did want us just to lower the structure, and John didn't want to. And I said, all right, when I was doing it in CAD, and I was showing him, this is what it would look like. And then I actually went back and re-rendered it and sent him proper renderings to get his approval on that, because we could have just lowered the structure. But yeah, we would be taking, that beam is a,
The height is the height, but they did call out the percentage of the structure above 15 is 5%.
The overall percentage of the whole structure above the 15-foot
Yeah.
is, yeah.
They called that out.
I guess what I was just more thinking in regards to their alternative approaches to finding solutions to be within code compliance that maybe you guys haven't discussed. That was more, I guess, my, my original thought of the question.
trying to get it down to 15 feet, because we were told 16 and a half feet was fine.
Well, I understand that, and I'm looking through the meeting minutes from the zoning on, was that, I guess, that May 9th? No, what day was that one? Sorry, here it is. August 13th, where the city clarified, what page am I on? Wrong page.
That was, yeah, Matty Kapka.
Yeah, just give me a second here. Yeah, where Capella explained that the pool house of 17 was proposed, which exceeded the maximum structure allowed by code by 2 feet. At that meeting, Kapka reported to staff incorrectly stated that if the structure was reduced to 16.5 feet in height, then it would be administratively approved. Kappa explained that this could be done through something called I'm not going to pronounce that word.
minimis.
De minimis, thank you, variance. But that was the part where the Pele explained that that was not an applicable part of the code that was referenced. So I think the whole hanging on the 16.5 is what we're trying to move past and try to get you guys within full compliance versus where we're at now. That's the reason for my question, I think.
Yeah, we were just never given any notification that that was not the case.
Yeah, I thought the zoning, everyone agreed they were gonna do 16 and a half feet. There was no indication, that was how we left that first meeting was, yeah, we all agree, 16 and a half feet is approved, resubmit the plans. And you're good to go. And I did, I was like, do I need to add to a variance? They said, no, just resubmit it in the portal, the new drawings, which was Rev 5, and we'll approve it in-house. So I don't know, going all the way to 15 feet when we were already told once we were approved at 16.5, I don't understand that one.
Yeah,
understand where you're coming from on that.
yeah. I think, like I said, we went down that path, that rabbit hole.
Well, in the meeting notes from the planning commission meeting, however, the 10% deviation cannot be applied to structure or building height. So, I mean, I understand some confusion.
Why didn't they
from the-
update the variance the next day?
They didn't say that.
It would be on public record.
I was told that way after by the secretary. I was told by everyone in zoning, at the board and the representative, that that's what we're doing.
So it sounds and looks like you were told, if you submit plans at 16 and a half, that can be approved and will be approved by our in-house process. Is that right?
That's in the meeting. minutes
But
from
then
the
you
first-
never received notification that it was in fact approved. Is that correct?
I got the stamps. You don't seem to have that stamped one. That's what I'm trying to go through my emails right now, of the Rev 5 stamped that I sent in. They were approved, and that's what I printed and put on site.
Okay.
I don't know if I submitted that or that's part of your record, but I submitted Rev 5 for this because that's the actual pertinent document for this whole thing. That was the final revision that we all agreed upon.
I'm gonna
And we don't
take
have
the-
that.
I'm gonna take the crosshairs off you for a second. So for Pelli, I know you said you guys mentioned you have correspondence or documentation. The appellant requested records. They have not seen anything that shows you reached out from what they have been given. Do you have anything in your documents that shows beyond the original meeting minutes of their first variance that they were denied or approved until they got the actual violation notice?
I have not seen the communications that the city officials said were sent. They stated at the last planning commission meeting that they went through and said, is this address in West Jefferson correct? The email, they use phone, but I have not requested nor have I seen any of those communications. I understand the appellant said they made a public records request asking for them and didn't receive any. I don't know if they exist or not. Am just arguing based on what happened at the planning commission meeting that they said they reached out many times, while this was going on and never received a response.
Okay. Because I think what I'm trying to understand from the process is from the first zoning meeting where they were given that verbal approval, that's part of the meeting minutes, submitted the documentation as acquiesced to that request to get the given variance request, they proceeded under the guise that they were approved.
Yeah, I
And
think
and
they
were never given direction otherwise.
Yeah, they were taking comments stated in the planning commission meeting, maybe discussions in the hallway after the planning commission meeting as being, this is approved. There's nothing approved until you get the building permit through the portal or otherwise. And they just said, hey, we're approved, we made these changes, we're good to go. And that's not the situation here. There is a difference between plan approval and building permit issuance. The plan approval goes through engineering, they go through the fire marshal. I think I've heard Mr. Blackford say before, there's like 10 different hands that review every application that comes in. That's what plan approval is. A building permit is something completely different, because that takes into account the zoning requirements and the variance that would be necessary for this.
Right, and that's what I saw explained by Mr. Blackford at the last meeting, to make sure that all members of the planning commission were understanding the difference between plan approval and an actual building a permit being issued, which
That is correct.
the opinion was that that had never been formally done.
Yes.
Okay.
Is Mr. Blackford the office representative? No, not you, but who is Mr. Blackford?
He's the director of planning, I think. His title has changed, but
He wasn't present at the last.
not at the last one.
Okay,
At
all right,
the-
so that's why I got confused.
The one in
The first-
2024,
Yeah, okay.
Yes.
Wait, I just want to correct that. The presentation by staff at the meeting on
August?
the August meeting, my recollection from the video is that Matty Kappa and Michael Blackford were sitting.
I don't recall. I know Ms. Kapka was here. I don't recall Mr. Blackford specifically.
He is not listed as present.
Okay. All right. Hold on just one second.
First page.
All right. I'm looking on page 5 of the meeting minutes from the Wednesday, August 13th meeting of Planning Commission. Top paragraph up here, and it says, Mr. Shu stated that he had stamped building plans on site while waiting for all correct paperwork. Mr. Tamarkin asked staff if stamped building plans were the same as permits. Director Blackford stated that these are separate items and explained that plan approval is a state requirement while a permit is a local requirement. Director Blackford reiterated staff's attempts to contact the applicant, blah, blah, blah. So whether he was there or not, I guess, is neither here nor there, but that is just corroborating what the appellee just said, is that there is a difference. That director in the city of Gahanna stated that. I realize that is certainly after you built it, but he's stating the fact that, you know, you talked about a permit packet, but we're still not seeing evidence that there's a stamping of plan approval. I am not, personally, I won't speak for the other members of the board here. I'm not in the agreement that there was a building permit issued at this time.
I'm confused because that's all, you're talking about the second variance hearing that was about the code violation, right? For that conversation?
So the variance was applied for after the code violation, but that variance hearing wasn't about the code violation. It was about, yes, it was about requesting a variance to eliminate the existence of a code violation.
Okay.
But yes, that is
And
the,
that's what that is, where he wasn't present, but he stated? Is that what that text is from? The second
Well, no,
one?
well, it is from that meeting, and it suggests that he was present, or somebody accidentally called Ms. Kapka, Director Blackburn.
No, they were sitting there together. side by
I will
side.
say,
Blackford.
I haven't looked at the video. Sometimes Mr. Blackford sits at the table and, or sometimes he sits in the first row. But I believe Ms. Kapka was the one taking the lead on that.
She was the
Present.
lead on presenting
Yeah.
that evening, but he
I
did,
thought they made a statement up front in that he was not present when they were doing roll call. And I was surprised, I just remember being surprised. I wasn't even there because he was a part of the beginning of this when we were all here together, agreeing and moving forward. And then I was disappointed that he wasn't there, is how I recall it.
So the roll call would have only been of the planning commission members, not of, wouldn't have included.
Then maybe I just noted it, but I remember him specifically not being present because that was disappointing. 'Cause
Okay.
I thought he was going to help our scenario.
gotcha,
He was the one that spoke for us the first time and said, this is what we're all doing together.
right.
Understood.
Okay. Any other questions that you have at this time?
No.
No.
No. Okay. All right. The next step in the process in the evening is, I will explain where we're going from here. So we have three options as a Board of Zoning Appeals per 12.2 of the Rules of Procedure. Find in favor of the appellee or appellant, find in favor and amend the modification, or remand the instructions to the city official, employee, or body for further consideration and/or action. So at this time, what would happen would be, and we try to keep the motion in the positive, and then, of course, the vote can go either way, that we would have a motion made by one member of the board and a second by, another person, and then there is the opportunity for any or all of the board members to give any thoughts, final thoughts that they have. No rebuttal to that, but any thoughts that they have prior to Mr. Van Meter doing a roll call. So, at this time, I will ask if there is a motion on the floor for some, or one of you to bring up a motion to, related to the appeal of Planning Commission's denial of V-00192025.
Yes, I have a motion. I move to find in favor of Applee.
So in favor of Appley is, okay, yeah.
It would be affirming the denial.
Affirmative denial, yeah.
Now, let's ask that question, because, just for clarification, if it is seconded, I want to make sure that that still allows us to vote, well, I guess you can say no, which would then allow it to pass. So it's just, it doesn't matter which way you make the motion, you can still vote one way or the other.
Correct. So,
Yes.
yes, so in favor of the appellee would be in favor of the city and upholding the planning commission denial. And that vote can be positive or negative for each of you.
Yes.
Regardless of
So
whether you
it's just
make the
doing it the
motion or
other way.
second. But if I might,
Yes.
Mr. Chair,
Yes.
if I could just take the liberty of just a quick reminder that the question posed before BZBA is whether or not the appellant proved by a preponderance of the evidence that Planning Commission erred. And so in their weighing of the statutory factors of granting a variance, whether they appropriately weighed those factors in denying the variance. So while a large majority of the discussion tonight has been about how we got here today and whether or not there's any remedies or misinformation that led us to where we are, I just, as a gentle reminder, that the question before the board is whether or not Planning Commission appropriately weighed the factors. And so your own weighing of the factors may be warranted to say whether or not the variance should have been granted at the beginning, regardless of the information that was received by, or in light of the information received by the appellant from the administration as one factor in all of the many factors to be weighed in determining a variance. And I am happy to go through those factors if that it would be helpful.
But approving the variance does supersede the building department coming back and saying, I'm not issuing a building permit, because we still believe as a building department that code has not been met.
So the issue of whether or not the structure is in compliance and whether there was a code violation by building that structure prior to receiving a building permit is a separate matter than the variance itself. And so this is purely just, should the structure be allowed to exist as is, which is outside of the code, and then the factors for that would be the statutory factors of granting a variance. So whether or not the building was erected without a permit, that would be a code violation issue that would be remedied separately through mayor's court. And so here, the focus should be just, should the building exist as is outside of the code? So in that sense, yes, it supersedes the building permit, and it would grant the variance to allow the permit to be issued, even if it's after the fact. And those consequences, as far as the mayor's court side of the violation, would be separately handled by my department in mayor's court. So this is just purely, should the building exist, is it acceptable that it is 16 and a half feet in light of all of the factors, including the information they had at the time?
Which means, and I also saw in the presentation at the last meeting that Ms. Kapka brought up on the screen in 1117.02 variances, that there are like 8 requirements, some that speak to why a variance should be issued, which
Yes.
can be part of our decision also.
Yes.
Right, and that's what I shared with you here.
And that would be,
Yes.
yep, section A through H, which would be the specific findings that planning commission needs to reach in order to grant a variance. And so if you felt that these factors were in fact present, and that planning commission erred in not giving it due weight, that would be establishing the preponderance of the evidence that planning commission erred.
Is de minimis one of those factors?
So it is not, because that's, the separate section is whether it's a de minimis variance versus, which does not apply to, as we know, building heights. So the factors, just so that everybody can be on the same page, if you don't mind, Mr. Chair, if I just run through these.
Yes.
Are you able to put them up on the screen too?
Yes, can we do that? So that would be,
Are these in the minutes?
they are in the
what are we-
presentation, but if you could, can you just pull up 1117.02? And this would be section, so the section C covers de minimis variances and section D covers standard variances. And then we're going to look at section 4 underneath that.
Sorry, is it just me? I just was.
Yeah.
I got contacts and I can't see it either.
Sorry, will you?
But yeah, you've got those too.
Yeah, I think I have the
I
shorthand
can see
version.
pretty good with these, and I.
Jeremy, we're looking for 1117.02 C, D 4, A through H. Right there.
That highlight tool makes that much more effective. Thank you.
A through H, right there. So A is just that a variance is not likely to result in substantial change to the essential character of the neighborhood. B is that the variance is not likely to result in damage to adjoining properties. C is that the variance is not likely to adversely affect the delivery of governmental services, such as water, sewer, and garbage. D is that the variance is not likely to result in environmental impacts greater than what is typical for other lots in the neighborhood. E is that the variance is necessary for the economical use of the property, and such use of the property is not easily achieved through some method other than a variance. F, the variance is not likely to undermine the objectives of the land use plan. G, whether the variance is substantial and is the minimum necessary to make possible the reasonable use of land or structures. And lastly, H, the practical difficulty could be eliminated by some other method, even if the solution is less convenient or more costly to achieve.
So would the thought there be that all 8 need to be met
Yes,
to grant the variance? Okay.
And how does de minimis not apply to that when we were told de minimis would apply?
I'm
Just
sorry. so-
Basically the error?
Correct. So they had mistakenly told you that they could grant a de minimis variance on a building structure, when in fact the code section says it does not apply to height of buildings.
The last 2 were turned off, not on this.
But you're saying that can't be used as part of
No, it can.
the commission
It
making
can
an
be
error?
considered as context as to how we got to where we are, and that these factors should be applied in light of the fact that you were told that you could have a de minimis variance, but were incorrectly informed.
Okay.
That absolutely is something that can be considered and is being considered.
Okay. Are there any other questions? I mean, we've got a motion, but I just want to make sure, and for your benefit also, that we're all clear on that. So I appreciate all the input from the city attorney. Thank you very much.
Yes.
Any other questions from either of you related to these 8 criteria and the need to meet them all, or anything else that we've talked about?
No?
No, I appreciate the clarity.
Yeah, because there's some strong language here. Okay, so.
So there's a motion, so
There is,
I second the motion in favor of the Pelly.
all right. Any discussion now? So any commentary prior to Mr. Van Meter doing a roll call? We'll go in the opposite direction.
Sure.
You ready?
Okay. So, we talked about a lot of things, but when it comes down to it, it comes down to, did Planning Commission mess up in not granting a variance? And it's based on those 8 factors. There are several of those that I think would be in favor. You know, it's not interrupting city services. It's not having a greater environmental impact. It is pretty minimal. I mean, it is probably the minimum that you would need to accomplish this project. The 2 that it seemed to me that Planning Commission looked at most heavily was, you know, is it substantially different from the use plan? Is it likely to undermine the use plan? And is it necessary for the economical use of the parcel? Based on all of those things, I don't think that those are present here. And that is why I think Planning Commission made an appropriate and not erroneous decision in finding against the variance.
Okay. Anything on your end? Thoughts?
No, I feel for the appellant in regards to the process. It's unfortunate. Hope it doesn't sully the process of working in Gahanna or doing things within Gahanna in the future. But I also do agree that the original request for the variance being upheld by the city of Gahanna was in the right, especially regarding item H, which is, there is a very simple solution to rectify it, whether you were given erroneous direction or not. I think it could have been corrected at the time, and I think that's the part, as ourselves, as the board, we have to uphold, is that part of the process in the law, and while we're here, is the city did everything through the right process and given the right direction in upholding those statutes.
Thank you. My thoughts are not too different than my fellow board members. I understand that there was some confusion back in November. I'm still, as I stated previously, building code review should have been number 1 before design was started. And if that had been properly done, we may not have even been here today, or we wouldn't have had these variance meetings. And so that is so important. And as I said, the 2 of us live that in our lives, and we get it. And you even stated you're doing it from now on. It's unfortunate that it didn't happen in this case.
Can I add one thing, or should I not?
No.
Yeah, I didn't feel it's pertinent, but it is relevant. I've been going through cancer treatment for 2 years. It's melanoma. It was everywhere. Now it's just lung and brain. I've done very well. That's when I mentioned why I take such many notes, because of the treatments. I trust my notes, but there is times of brain fog going through that process. So there's potential I missed something, but I'm diligent with notes to offset that, which may have been part of this problem too, of me missing some of the decisions.
Okay. I'm sorry to hear that.
So I didn't.
I will continue on, and unfortunately, we're probably at a part in the hearing where your comments aren't on the record. Well, they probably are on the recording, but not part of where we are at this point, so I'll continue. Again, I'm having a hard time about some of these communications of these emails or texts being sent out or not, but that's not totally jading my thoughts. I think starting a project without a permit is inexcusable, and I think that would have been the second set of checks and balances that we also could have taken care of that problem ahead of time. As my fellow board members stated, I think even H, about the practical difficulty could be limited by some other method. My fellow architect here has been doing some sketching, which I think he's done a good job. I think a couple of the items that Mr. Bryson mentioned also, I don't believe all 8 items of the granting of a variance in 1117.02 are met, and thus I will be voting with the appellee on this one. So, any other comments from that? I think you guys have already spoken. So at this time, I think we will move forward with the roll call. Do we need to read the motion again? Are we all clear?
The motion is to find in favor of the appellee.
Okay. All right, thank you. Let us move forward with roll call.
Bryson?
Yes.
Burmeister?
Yes.
Eisen?
Yes. The motion passes. We will now move on to unfinished business, which I don't believe that there are any items there. I don't believe there is either any new business. Any other comments on anything with the board from either of my fellow board members?
This might be something to handle offline, but I did want to find out, we've got a member who, I can't remember the last time he was at a meeting, so we may want to just check and see if there's anything that's going to happen because of that, because of some attendance. It may be that we don't have you miss so many and something automatic happens, but we should probably check just to be sure.
Yeah.
That we don't forget about that if that's the case,
Okay.
that we've got to do something. But that actual check can happen
Yeah.
off the record.
Am I allowed to comment during this? In that second variance hearing, there was someone that was there that wasn't there the first time, and he said, oh, if I was here the first time, I would have approved it, and we would have maybe won. So speaking to what you said, and then Mr. Blackwell not being present, that did seem to have some factors in maybe elongating the scenario.
Sure. That was definitely in the minutes of the meeting, thank you. In the minutes of the planning commission meeting.
And you can tell me to stop. I don't mean to butt in. I'm just,
Okay.
if I'm not allowed to speak, just tell me.
Well, at this point of the meeting, with no further business, I will now adjourn the meeting, and it is now 8:02 p.m.